The information that will be shared in this video, it's my understanding, my practice, but more important, my experience. So don't take anything that is going to be said here as the absolute truth. If you resonate with anything that is being said, you can put it into practice and let your experience determine the validity of what is being shared here. Having said that, enjoy this video. Hello, welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it How to Deal with Feelings of Guilt. I know that when we're talking about non-duality, it has nothing to do, better said, with this human experience, literally, because non-duality is the essence, is beingness, which has nothing to do with the forms or the shapes or anything perceived whatsoever. Now, within the context of the seeming human appearance, I also may like to touch on subjects like this one, just so you see that whatever the situation may be, feelings, sensations, or thought, they are dealt the same way. Nothing actually changes. So, when we're talking about feeling guilty, sense of guilt, I know how difficult that could be, and I can understand that there's like a piercing sensation, something that destroys us psychologically, and yet, how do we deal with that? Well, first we have to remember that whatever the feeling, sensation, or whatever you want to call it, that has to do with the individual, not with our sense of self. Our presence, or presence better said, which is what is, feels no guilt, feels nothing, because it's just the space in which everything seems to manifest. What we're pointing to is to the recognition that we are that. Again, we can call it space or space-like, ever-presence, absolute. You see, you can call it whatever you want, it's irrelevant, but it's our natural beingness, is who we are. See? So when senses of guilt or whatever you want to call it shows up, they're just simply feelings or sensations that have certain texture. And of course, what the mind does is that it takes that texture and then uses a story to justify or to enhance that texture. It could be something I did to someone, or it could be something that might have happened that, whatever the case may be, is a story. In the end, all that there is ever-present experience, which is not personal. It's simply what is. Right now, you cannot deny your experience, which is beingness. Okay? So, all these experiences, whether call it guilt or shame or resentment, whatever, to a certain extent, you could say that they are there to help us push through this limitation called the body and begin to question, who am I? Because when the pain is so unbearable, of course, the first thing that we try to do, because we're conditioned to believe that we're a body, is to try to suppress it, try to deal with in whichever way we can, either drugs, sex, alcohol, entertainment, buried myself in work, whatever I can do to cope with that. But that is only for the individual. You see, not for the essence of our beingness. So when I begin to use everything that happens to surrender to the experience itself and remember that I am, then the love, which is what we are, takes over. And then as the recognition of what I am keep settling in, all those feelings, sensations, or whatever the case may be, they lose the grip on ourselves, you see. But again, this is only for those who desire truth, the ones who desire peace, real peace, not the sense of tranquility that we feel when for the moment that thought or that feeling is not there, or when I sedate myself with whatever in order to believe that I'm feeling better. No, this is for those who really want peace above all else. So when I want peace above all else implies that what I want is truth. Now the world of appearances no longer is attractive to me. Now this may seem like if I surrender to truth, life is going to be dull, it's going to be boring, I will not be able to do things I enjoy. That's not true. When we surrender completely to truth, to love, to what I am, life continues. And actually, it's even more enjoyable because nothing is taken seriously. And if you, for example, like music, you'll continue listening to music. If you like building houses, you'll continue building houses. If you enjoy your time with the family, you will continue enjoying the time with the family. If you like to write, the inspiration for writing continues. Nothing actually changes because remember, you are not the doer. You're not doing anything. Everything is done through you. And I always say these videos are paradoxical because even if I tell you just simply be, that in reality you will not be because I'm saying this, you will be is that is what's supposed to happen for you. But once again, if you were drawn to this information is being presented, well, it could be said that life is through you reminding itself that it can actually be. That's why I always say, raise your right hand, for example. And when you find yourself raising your right hand, which is be my right, well, that gives the illusion that I have the power to choose, you see. Even when I am completely aware that raising the right hand is not something that I chose to do, is something that is taking place through me. But again, let's continue with the practicality of this. The practicality of this is that when I'm dealing with any kind of sensation or psychological issue, which is of course can be very painful or can be experienced extremely difficult, if I go to the mind to try to solve it, I am feeding the very same obstacle that put the problem there. That's what Albert Einstein used to say, you cannot solve a problem with the same mind that created it. We could say you cannot solve anything with the same conceptual mind that presented the situation in the first place. Ramana Maharshi used to say, asking the mind to undo the mind or to solve the issue with the mind is like asking a thief to become the police officer, and it'll follow you for the rest of your life. So this is very simple. The question is, what is it that you truly desire? Do you want peace, real peace? Do you want truth? Or do you want to keep playing the character you convince yourself you are? And if you want to do that, then yes, you're going to have to deal with guilt, with shame, yeah, with pleasure too. But all of these are simply passing sensations in that which is what you are. And that's what we're pointing to. So when the feelings of guilt, of resentment, or come up, whatever those are, first of all, let's just be conscious that these feelings are for the person, not for who you are. Okay? And then I can see consciously how the feeling might be there, and I can see the story right there, and I can see how I'm feeling the guilt and the story keep feeding it. And in that moment I can become conscious, and I said, okay, those feelings means absolutely nothing. Nothing means anything. You see? I'm not denying anything. This is not denying or suppressing. I'm not saying that. The feeling could be there. I'm not trying to cover it up. I'm just simply allowing it to be. You see? And I just surrender. Love is the only thing that I truly am. Peace is what I am. And as a matter of fact, you don't even have to say anything. Just be. Just be with it. And like everything, I've heard this analogy before, and I'll share it here. It's like a cloth that is has a stain on it. You put it in water, and then when you pull it out, the stain still there, but not as strong as it was before. And then you put it in the water again, and you pull it out, and the stain continues to fade away until the time comes when the stain is completely gone. Well, same here. When the feelings of guilt or shame or whatever happen or seems to arise, go back again to the I am. And I don't try to identify with the story nor with the feeling, just I am. And remember, what is it that is important to me in my heart? Is truth. Or let's use a word that you can relate better, peace. All I want is peace. And that's how the feeling of guilt begins to dissipate. Now, that in conjunction with the recognition that I am not the doer is practically the formula to finally dissipate all guilt at all. And yes, the mind would say, but if you don't feel guilt, you will not be able to, that would not be a corrective mechanism. Guilt does not correct anything, in the same way that fear does not heal anything. And I know that this is a very common belief, through fear we'll teach them, through guilt we'll teach them. No, through fear you punish, and through guilt you punish. Only through love you heal. Love is the only thing that can heal. And what I'm saying here is that we're bringing back ourselves back to that space that paradoxically, it could be said that the reason we acted the way we did before is because of fear. So once you let love heal, real love, which is the essence of beingness, guess what? In that recognition, you have to know, yes or yes, that you and everything are one. So if you hurt someone, you're always hurting yourself. You don't need guilt in order to learn that, to recognize that. If you know that the right hand and the left hand, they're all part of the same body, the same whole, you don't need guilt to learn that if you take a hammer and hit the other hand, you're gonna feel it, Well, same thing in life. The more you know who you are, the love which is ever present, the more you'll be able to see that in everything and in everyone. And then what happens is that the way you're gonna be acting towards the experience of humanity, it'll be coming from that space. You see, so what is going to be the odds that you'll find yourself acting the way you did before when there was fear, when now there is love? You see? So as the love heals whatever is happening in you, first of all, one thing that the love will tell you immediately is that you're not guilty. Immediately. It's like, just let's use this example. It's like going to God. God, I made a mistake. I sinned. And you know what God would say? I didn't judge you. You're the one judging you. I love you the same because you are part of me. So that's what he would say. When I give the talks, for example, I love this example. I ask people, can love experience fear? You'll be surprised how the majority would say yes. He said, yeah. They said, of course, yeah. Love experience fear because they have a concept of love that is fearful. Is the human concept of love, which has polarities and opposite. And then I said, okay, well then let me ask you this. Can the light experience darkness? But hey, you cannot turn the light off, because if you turn the light off, then the question immediately falls apart. I'm asking, can the light right now, you see light, can light experience darkness? And the obvious answer is not. Light is, right now, if you're in a room that is lit up, see if you can find darkness in that room. It's impossible. Now if you turn the light off, yeah, but then that'll be the absence of light. So again, the question falls by the wayside. So I'll ask you again, can light experience darkness? And the answer is no. And then when I begin to ask the people in the audience, I would say, okay, why is it that light cannot experience darkness? Oh my God, you see all this hypothetical, all these philosophical answers, because light being the ever-present, all kinds of junk. And I'm thinking, look, it's simple. The only reason why light cannot experience darkness is because it's light. End of story. You see? That's the only reason why light cannot experience darkness. Because it's light. That's it. Well, let's go back to the original question. Can love experience fear? And the answer has to be no. Why? Because love is. Fear, if anything, would be the absence of love. But you cannot put love and fear simultaneously. It's like saying God is omnipresent, omniscient, all that there is, the only power. And then we just come up with this thing called the devil to match up with it. There's no need to fear a devil because there's only one power. Well, this is what we're pointing to here. We're pointing to the essence of what you are. And the essence is. And that's it. This is very simple. So in essence, all sorts of feelings can come up. All sorts of sensations can come up. All sorts of thoughts can come up. And if I don't identify with that which is moving, thoughts, sensations, situations, feelings, whatever, and if I remain as I am, you see, then everything is fine. And that feelings of guilt that the mind was using to hang on to, and that's why we drag them for so long, have room to dissipate, you see. And then you realize that all feelings, all sensations, all thoughts, or all circumstances, they have the same thing in common. They're transitory. But if you're just being, then everything is a cloud. It passes by. And that's how you deal not only with feelings of guilt, but with everything. And as love is healed, as love heals everything, then whatever lesson, if there's such a thing, has been learned. But if I go with the mind to try to deal with the feelings of guilt through punishment or something like that, the lesson has not been learned. And it's probably that if the ego, which is the sense of identity, is touched again, I may find myself reacting the same way. People who have gone to prison, and then when they come out of prison, they tend to be repeated offenders. Why? Because they were not taught through love to heal. They were taught through fear, through punishment. That's all they know. And when they go out, they keep reacting the same way they did before. Some may seem to, deal with life a little better. But if we don't let love heal, then we're just running in circles. And love is always reminding us who we are, which is not this human experience. And this is where these videos are pointing to. I sporadically, like today, I use seeming, life experiences, but just to see that everything points in the same direction. I am. So if you rest in the I amness, because there's a true desire for truth, for peace, then life is taking care of life. Life is doing everything through you, the instrument. And the consequence of that is that you will find yourself experiencing life lighter, more kind, loving, peaceful, joyous, because you're in touch with your nature. And yes, all these situations or feelings or sensations or thoughts can occur, but now they have a door to exit. Before, they would come in and we'll close the door when the mind gets in the way and tries to deal with the situation. Now all those doors are open. The door that through where the feeling, sensation, whatever comes in, and the exit door for it to leave, and then you remain as you are. Well, this is what the inspiration that I expressed through this instrument. I hope it helped, and as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can be extended.